very difficult to live up to all of that. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Some of you may be wondering why you're all here this morning, right? What makes you so special? Is to get free breakfast, free lunch, free lectures from the best teaching professors that Drexel can get together. Is it because you're the smartest guys on campus?
Yes.
Could you be the best looking? No? You're all new TAs. Now, you may have seen from the offer letter that was given to you prior to your arrival on campus that you're obligated to teach here at Drexel. All right? So what we are seeking to do this morning is try to get you guys started on being the best teaching assistants that you can be. That's the purpose of this orientation and education 775. But before we can get you guys in the mood, so to speak, to get prepped to be good TAs, you need to understand the environment in which you're going to be working. And I have prepared some slides here which will give you an idea of what Drexel is all about, because you need to know a little bit about this institution, where it sits in the hierarchy of institutions in the US. This is a picture that I showed at orientation for the PhD students who showed up at my session on how to survive the first couple of years as a PhD student. It gives you a pictorial representation of the kinds of tertiary institutions that we have in the US. How we receive students from high school, for example, into a research university like Drexel, which is represented by this little box down here, these two rectangles. So this is where Drexel stands. It is an institution that provides tertiary education to high school graduates. We are in the business of education. That means we are going to take these high school graduates. We're going to be, at least as far as the undergraduate students are concerned, we're going to have them be in school for 4 years, or in the case of Drexel, for 5 years. We're going to have them take courses and in the end graduate with a bachelor's degree. So what does Drexel actually do? Well, to understand that, you need to appreciate that Drexel belongs to the category of tertiary institution that we call a research-intensive university. So that means our main activity is research. But Drexel is unusual in that it is also a tuition-driven institution. It doesn't have a large endowment. So though it wishes to push research as much as it can, it cannot forget that it needs the tuition money that is given to it by each and every undergraduate institution. So for the institution to function properly, it has a very significant responsibility, and that is to make sure that the undergraduate students who are here to get that first bachelor's degree are well taken care of. Okay? That's an obligation that we have to have. Otherwise, if the tuition dries up, this institution essentially collapses. So research is important, but here for Drexel, education, teaching, and learning is important as well. And that's where you step into the picture. This is a very quick picture of Drexel's structure. On the right-hand side is the administration, and you have very little to do with it other than to receive your quarterly transcript or results. You get maybe charge or a fee that you have to pay that comes from the bursar's office. Otherwise, your main interaction will be with the offices and the people who occupy those offices that are represented here on the left. And you notice that not only will you be a student here, but you will also be in this column here, providing instruction as well as a TA. So you have two roles to play. Your role as a TA arises because we have such a large undergraduate contingent, and as I mentioned before, that undergraduate contingent has to be taken care of very well, because we need the tuition fees that they pay in order to make this university function as best it can. Who will do all the teaching of these 14,000 undergraduates? Well, we have a whole core of faculty, but if you take a look at the numbers, you will realize that there aren't enough faculty to undertake the teaching that has to take place on campus. And that's where you come in. We could, of course, go out and hire more faculty, but economics-wise, that is just not feasible. What we do, of course, is we bring you people onto campus. You're going to be PhD students. You have taken these undergraduate courses before, that you will in fact be assisting in teaching. And we think that you are equipped to stand in for the faculty whom we would otherwise have to hire in order to undertake all of those teaching responsibilities that we have. It's also true that even if you're not a TA, we think it's a good idea for you to have some teaching experience. To prepare for a class, to be able to address a class. All these are qualities and skills that you should all try to get in the time here in school. Alright, so you're a TA. You're going to be helping to teach courses that you have taken before. You therefore have some idea of what your responsibilities are. And I have listed them here so that you will be reminded that yes, I remember when I took that particular course, there was a TA who was assigned to helping me get through the course, helping the professor to run the course. These are the typical chores of a TA here on campus. Each week, you will be obligated to take care of 2 or 3 lab sessions if you are assigned to be a lab TA. If you're assigned to be a recitation TA, you may have maybe 4 2-hour sessions with, 2 or 3 2-hour sessions with students where you'll be taking care of recitations, or maybe 2 or, well, actually more than 2. Could be 3 or 4 2-hour labs that you will in fact be guiding. In the recitations, you'll be solving problems and you'll be explaining lectures that may have gone over the heads of the students in the class. And in the labs, of course, you'll have to be instructing the students on how to use the equipment and what it is that they have to gather in terms of data to analyze and then to report on. You will be required to help grade student work, proctor exams, whenever they are held. And typically there may be 2 midterm exams plus a final, sometimes 3 midterms and a final each quarter. You may be required to have office hours, at which times you are required to be available to the students, questions that they didn't bring up at recitation or at lab. Occasionally, once you have proved yourself to the professor who runs the course, who is the director of the course, you may be asked to step in to teach a class or 2. Usually that happens only when the professor has had you for a while and is confident that you can actually manage. What other chores may you be required to perform? These are the ones that you may not already be familiar with from your interactions with TAs in the courses that you took prior to graduate school. Sometimes TA may be required to take care of a course altogether. Doesn't happen that often, as I say, but if you have had experience as a TA for 2 years, 3 years, and if you have performed well, then the professor and the department might feel that you are equipped to take care of a course all on your own. In that case, you will make up the syllabus, you will set the exams, you will decide on grades, you will run the class basically on your own. You have complete authority over the course. Doesn't happen that often, but it's something to aim for if your intentions eventually are to join academia and to be a professor. All right, so what are the qualities that the department or the director of the course to which you have been assigned will be looking for? And here are some of the attributes of what I refer to as a good TA. You have to be a good team player, because usually you're assigned to a professor in a course in which there will be other TAs as well, or maybe other professors. And therefore it means that it is a large enrollment course, which means there will be at least 2 or 3, if not more, faculty and teaching assistants who will be involved in the running of that course. You have to be a team player. You can't just take off and say, look, I'm going to do it this way. I don't care what everybody else is doing in the course. That will just not be acceptable. So you need to learn how to be a team player. You need to know how to be responsible. If a class runs at 8 o'clock in the morning, you can't show up at 8:15. Right? You've got to be there at 8 o'clock. The students are there waiting for you. You've got to be on time. You can't go to the class totally unprepared. You have to read over what it is that has been presented in the lecture by the professor that has to be covered in the recitation or in the lab. You've got to be ready. You've got to show enthusiasm. You've got to be excited about going to that class. Okay? Because if you don't show that, then students are not going to pay any mind to what it is that you're trying to get across to them. Pretty soon they're going to lose interest in the course, and then there will be repercussions, of course. You don't do well in classes, they may drop out, they may complain. That's one of the things that you would like to be able to show. You've got the energy, you've got the passion to be there in that recitation or in that lab. You may know a lot, but if you can't get that across, that's not going to be useful either. So you've got to be a good communicator. You've got to show that you care for the students, right? Because there's nothing that's more off-putting than to have a TA or a professor stand in front of you and just say that, look, I'm just going through the usual process. I don't really care to be in the class. I have to because that's required of me, and I'm going to make the best of it. That's not going to do. However, showing care, showing that you are going to be a friendly instructor, does not mean that you have to get too close to the students. There still has to be that gap between the student and you. Okay? Keep that in mind. Remember that when you are in the recitation or in the lab, you are the extension of the department faculty, and then the director of course that you're assigned to. So all the time, keep in mind, what would my professor do under these circumstances, in this situation? And try to see if you can actually behave in exactly the way in which your course director would behave under those circumstances. Also be aware of policies and rules. Okay? Don't blurt out somebody's test score to the whole class. Don't make derogatory remarks about somebody who didn't do very well. Keep all those rules in mind. Okay? You have those responsibilities. All right, we want to have all of these qualities inculcated in you. And that is going to happen, we think, this week. And that's the reason why we have Education 775 in this orientation. That's why we have people like Alexis Finger and the faculty whom you'll be interacting with this week. They are going to put you through this boot camp to make sure that you realize that you must remember that you have to develop these qualities that will stand you in good stead in the classroom. We need you to be as good as you can be, because as I said, this institution will have to rely upon you to do as good a job as you can in the classroom, in the lab, in the recitation. Because if, excuse me, if that doesn't happen, students will be unhappy, students will leave, students will tell their friends not to come to Drexel, and we can't afford to have that happen. So it's a very heavy responsibility that we're putting on your shoulders. In exchange, of course, you get a stipend, you get free tuition. All that we're asking you is remember that you have these obligations to us and to the students, and try to do as good a job as you possibly can. If, however, there are times in the future when things don't seem to be working out well, all I want to do is to tell you that you can always go to Alexis. She's always going to be available. Come to me, get to the profs whom you'll be encountering the rest of this week. They are the go-to people who can help you. I also want to remind you that if you do your part, we will recognize your achievements. Your students are absolutely thrilled to have you in their recitations, and if they wish to recognize you, they can nominate you for teaching awards. Okay. And we do make these awards every year. So keep that in mind. If you want to be recognized, if you feel that, look, you have really been performing at a very high level, let your students know that if they wish to, they can nominate you for these teaching awards. The announcements will be made available each quarter to all the students in all the classes that are run here on campus. There will be a process that will be in place that allows the students to nominate you. There will be a committee led by Alexis Finger to decide on winners. And each year we recognize all the winners at Graduate Student Day that happens in May of every year. So I want to thank you very much for showing up this morning. Please pay attention to the instructors who will be working with you this week. Please realize that we would like you to try to do your best to absorb what it is that we will be sharing with you this week. Please make sure that you are as good as you can be as TAs in the classroom. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Oh, any questions, right?
Dr. Lim.
Any questions? Can you show up at 8:05 if the exam is at 8 o'clock? No. All right. Can you get to go to class without a tie? Yes, like I'm doing this morning. As an administrator, I should have come here with a coat and a tie, but I thought this morning I would put on my hat as a professor. Now, I want to tell you that I do have TAs who work with me as well, and I give them exactly the same spiel. I tell them that, look, we are together to make learning take place in the classroom. And these are some of the things that you have to have. Be prepared, be caring, okay? Be committed, be passionate, show a lot of energy. Those are the things that I want you to keep in mind. I also tell them that, look, they may know a lot, but if they can't get it across to the students, that's not going to work either. So you guys, whether you like it or not, you have to become really public speaking experts. I know that Alexis is going to help you become just that, good public speakers, because you need to be there in the classroom. Okay? Have a good week. All right, don't forget free coffee at the end of 240. Anytime you guys feel thirsty and want to take a break.
That's
okay?
right. Did you mention your office does offer all these things?
Yes. No, besides free coffee, we've got biscuits. We also have tickets that you can pick up, right? For all the activities that the GSA organizes every quarter. Don't forget the Spirit of Philadelphia that's happening on Friday. I think there's some tickets still available. For $20, you get something that's worth $100. I can't think of a better deal than that. Right? $20 for something that's worth $100. You get to ride on this boat that goes up and down the Delaware. Food, wine. I don't know about women, but salt, yes.
He has a sense of humor too.
All right, guys.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, actually we're a little ahead of our schedule, which is most unusual, but I think it's worth my going over the assignment that's coming up. So there's actually a TA handbook that's on our website. I strongly urge you to take a look at that. If possible, if you haven't already, visit your department. See if you can get a syllabus, a course that is very possible that you might be teaching. Eventually, on Thursday and Friday, we're going to have our practice teaching sessions. We're going to get you into groups as closely based as possible on your majors. It's a little bit difficult to make a perfect group because some majors we only have one or two. But we are interested in having you meet the people who are in your department, and we are trying to have a TA, experienced TA, facilitate that group who's also in your field. Doesn't always work, but that's our goal. So if you can get a syllabus, great. If you can't, but you're going to need to be able to present a lesson, a basic lesson on a topic that is fairly elementary. It's not so much the content as it is the teaching style, teaching techniques. So when you're in these groups that will be forming, you'll have a chance to do a little practice teaching, and you'll be able to get some feedback from the group, and especially from the TA who is facilitating it. Does that make sense? Any questions about that? The assignments haven't gone out yet. We're still waiting to hear from a few departments. It's been kind of slow this year. But as soon as I get everybody's name, I'll be sending it to the Office of Graduate Studies, and you will get this handout and we'll tell you which room to go to when we have the practice teaching sessions. When we have the big workshops, it's going to be in here, but for the practice teaching sessions, you will have a separate room where you'll be teaching. Hopefully, you have a phone that takes video, and if you want to have your lesson video taped, it can be on your phone. We wanted to get equipment for all of the different rooms. That was impossible, so either the TA who's facilitating can use his phone, her phone, or you can use yours for that. Now you may say, I hate to see myself. I hate to see myself, that's true. But there is some advantage. You may not know that you're scratching your head all the time, or that you're pacing like a lion all the time. When you see it, it's like, okay, that's me. Maybe I better cool it a little bit. So it does help to have a videotape if possible. What else? How many of you know that you will actually not be teaching in the fall or the winter? Is there anybody here who knows, no, what am I here for? I'm not going to be teaching forever, or at least for a long time. Okay, so not too many.
What do you mean by teaching?
Okay, when I say teaching, I mean you do not have any teaching. You're not going to do office hours, you're not going to do grading, you're not going to do lab, you're not going to do recitation. Is there anybody who knows that you're not doing any of the above? Okay. Pardon me?
I'm doing tutoring right now.
Tutoring counts. Tutoring counts. Nothing, nada. RA?
Yeah,
Okay.
for at least the first year.
For at least the first
Few years.
few years. Okay. All right. So we've had this issue before, and Dr. Lim's theory is, and actually it was the thought of the president of Drexel. He believed that every single PhD student should have an opportunity to do some kind of teaching at some time. So it may not be right away, but it will be eventually, one thinks. And so that's why this course was considered mandatory, actually, for every new teaching assistant. So even if you're not going to teach, the idea of the practice teaching sessions, so you get an opportunity to practice public speaking. Whether you teach or not, you will be going to conferences. Hopefully you're all going to be presenting at some time. And so an opportunity to present. So if you say to, let's say, the group facilitators, look, I'm not going to be teaching. We have other opportunities. You can present on the research that you're doing. Something of interest. It doesn't have to be a lesson per se, some kind of a presentation that you have practiced presenting, getting feedback. That is invaluable, getting feedback, as long as it's productive. We don't want to tear anybody apart. We want to say, this is great, this is good, keep it going. Or, maybe you want to be a little more careful about something like this when you're giving a presentation. Public speaking is my area. I can tell you a little bit about what I do. I'm in the English and Philosophy department, and I'm in the English Language Center. Does everybody know what an English Language Center is? Yes, no, maybe. Okay, well, many, I would say most universities today have what we call intensive English programs. And we have lots of international students coming to our universities, but many of them need some extra help with their language skills before they are admitted to a university. So Drexel has one. We are on 33rd near the corner of Powell, and we have an incredibly diverse group of international students, and many of them will be attending Drexel, but not all of them. They can go on to other universities in the United States. So I basically work with international students. This summer, we had an ITA program, which is for international TAs, 4 weeks of intensive classes, 3 hours every single day in the morning, and a few afternoons. Some people might say, well, it's a lot. I don't know, for me, it went like that. I think we had such a great time. And my background is public speaking, so I teach communication skills, debate, discussion. I've written 4 textbooks. I use drama. I'm a great theater person, and anybody who takes my class gets tickets to the theater, and I prepare them to go to the theater. So that's a little bit about me. And speaking of theater, if you don't know, Philadelphia has the oldest theater in the United States, the Walnut Street Theater. but it's been renovated a few times, so it's the most convenient and one of the loveliest theaters. And if you like theater, you can get a great bargain. You can get 5 shows for about $125. 5 shows. That's 1 show on Broadway. And these are Broadway caliber shows. So if you're interested in theater, the Walnut Street Theater, we've got the Wilma Theater, we have the Forest Theater, which brings in shows straight from Broadway, and we have the Miriam Theater, also Broadway shows. Got concerts. Anybody who's interested in culture, Philadelphia's got it. And this is coming from a New Yorker. Yep. And history, better than New York. Yeah. Old City, right? Independence Hall, National Constitution Center. Every relative who comes to New York, I drag them there and I say, you haven't seen anything until you've been here. So, okay, well, I think we've filled a little bit. Hope I gave you some interesting background. And now we have our next speaker, who's going to teach you things that I'm still having trouble with. To be quite honest, technology is not my field, but it is yours. So feel free to introduce yourself and tell them what you're going to share.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Shelmet. I'm the Associate Director of Online Learning over at IRT. That's in the Corman Center. I just found today that you can actually walk from Maine to the Corman Center through Stratton because they opened up that part of the brick, so that's nice. My team provides training and support for Drexel Learn and related technologies. So I prepared a few slides today to just kind of go over very quickly some of the basics of what that entails. But the bottom line is, if you remember nothing else from what I say before I put you to sleep, write down this information. We're in Corman 109. As teaching assistants, we treat you the same as faculty or staff, so you can come in, and if you need help, we will help you with whatever technology needs you have. You can call us at 215-895-1224. If you're on campus, just dial 1224. 1 dozen, 2 dozen is how my boss says to remember it, so whatever works for you. That phone number is actually answered 24/7 between the hours of about 7:30 or 8 in the morning until about 6 at night. It's answered by me or someone on my staff, so you'll get one of us who are actually in the online learning team office. After that, so at what we call off hours, it's you have 2 options. You'll hear a voice message, and it'll say, if you want to leave a voicemail, press 1. If you'd like to speak to the off-hour support, press 2. And then if you press 2, you'll be directed to a live person who can basically provide tier 1 support. So if you have an issue that's not too difficult, they can step you through it. Otherwise, they'll escalate to us and we'll handle it the next business day. If you leave a voicemail, that's the same as sending us an email, so you can email us at olt@drexel.edu, and then again, we can provide support that way through email. This is, again, for Drexel Learn and all the related technologies, and this is for you specifically. We treat you the same way as we would treat faculty, so if you have questions about how to get started creating a test or grading an assignment or something like that, you can come to us, you can sit down with us. We have computers in the Corman Center. You can sit there and work and call one of us over, and we can help you and step you through these things for the first time to make sure that you're comfortable using the technology in the way you need to use it. This is also the support information for your students. So if you set up something for your students within Learn or some other technology, and they're having technical issues, we don't expect you to act as tech support. That's our job. So again, direct them to us, and we will help address their needs. Sometimes students will call us and say, hey, I was taking this test and my dog knocked out my Ethernet cable and submitted it, but I totally was going to do the test. Can you reset it? And that's not something that we would do because that's an academic decision. So we may refer back to you or the instructor in a case like that. One of the other things we offer is training. Now, our training is open to anyone, anywhere, but very specifically all of you. Our upcoming trainings are listed on our workshops page. If you go to drexel.edu/IRT and just search at the top right for workshops, you should be brought to this page. This page has the current listing of everything we offer. We offer trainings on Learn, Camtasia, Collaborate, all sorts of things. And again, come to them as often as you want and tell all of your friends. They're really exciting. So Drexel Learn, unless you're actually listed in Banner as an instructor that's associated with the course, you won't have access to get into Learn through Drexel Learn. So like the instructor of record, whoever is officially teaching the course in Banner, they can log into the portal and then they'll have a link and then click on the link and that will take them into Learn. Typically, teaching assistants are added manually, and so there is no Banner association. And so when that's the case, you need to log in directly. The direct URL for Learn is learn.drexel.edu. So if you log into the portal, you're probably only going to see courses that you're enrolled in as a student. If you click on that link, that'll take you to that specific course, and then you can go and look at all the courses in Learn and get to it that way. But sometimes teaching assistants ask, well, why don't I see the course I'm teaching in the portal? And this is why, because your manual enrollment isn't that time or Banner. So log in directly. If you're assigned the teaching assistant role, which is most likely what you would have, you'll have full permission to the course. So you'll be able to do anything and everything in the course, which is a great power, but with that also comes great responsibility. So you want to make sure that you're careful in what you're doing. So I wanted to go over two different things with you. I could spend hours talking about Learn, and I'm sure you'd all be really excited to hear everything I have to say about it. But I only have 25 minutes. So I'm going to go over basically what you'll see when you go into a course for the first time if nothing has been done in it and it's completely empty, and then just kind of briefly look at the Grade Center and what you can do there. So when you go into Learn for the first time, it may be that your instructor says, look, this is a face-to-face course, I don't use Learn. If you want to use it, go ahead and do whatever you want with it. So there may be nothing there. If that's the case, this is what the course will look like. This blue area here, this is what's called the course menu. When the students come into the course, those are the only links they're going to see, or what's in that blue area. Right now in that blue area, all it says is Introduction to Learn, which is the name of the course. There are no links, there is no content here, there are no available items in this course. So it tells you already that there's nothing available to the students. You, as a teaching assistant, will have access to all these tools down here in the control panel. This allows you to upload files, to see the gradebook, to work directly with other tools, all the things that students can't do because you haven't provided them any links. So the first thing you'll need to do is actually add some links to the course. The way that is done, if you hover over this plus sign at the top left, this menu will drop down. This menu has a number of things that you can add, things like a content area, a blank page, a tool link, a web link. All these things can be added to the course menu. If you're just getting started, if you want to add the syllabus, some documents, we recommend creating what's called a content area. Think of a content area as like a folder on your desktop. This is just an area where you're going to provide links to students to attach files. When you're creating a content area, you have to give it a name. Again, if you're only creating one, if you're in charge of this, create one called course content. If you're actually helping the faculty member build out something like a fully online course, you probably want to create a content area for every week of the course. That's one of the things that a lot of instructors do, is they'll have week 1, week 2, week 3 content areas so that the students know how to progress in the material. But again, under the assumption that you've been given carte blanche to do whatever you want with the course, you can create one called course content. There's a checkbox here that says available to users. If you leave, by default that's unchecked. If you leave it unchecked, what will happen is you'll create the content area and it will be hidden from the students. It won't be available to the users, and in this case the users are the students. So even if you create that and you put all sorts of great stuff in there, they won't be able to see it. So you want to make sure you check that box. If you forget to check that box, it's not the end of the world. You just click on the options next to it and you can open it up. So basically you add a name, check a box, you click submit, that'll create your content area. So you'll see the content area in the menu now, and so now in the menu there's a link to course content. Since that's the only thing there, that's where the students will land by default. There's this little gray box to the right of that, and basically what that's telling you is this content area is empty. There isn't anything in here. So you need to start adding things to this content area. In order to do that, you would hover over the Build Content button, and then you have a number of things to choose from. So in order to get started, you need to create a link on the course menu, and then you need to create links or items to everything else that is there. When you're creating things, you can see things like audio, image, video. Item is probably the most versatile thing you can use. So when you're building content, an item is, in its basic sense, just a title and some text. but you can also attach files to that or embed video in that. So you can create an item so that right on the page you introduce yourself and you say, welcome to the class, and you use your webcam to record a short video saying, hi, I'm your TA, and you'll see me in the lab in a couple weeks, and kind of introduce them to the course and yourself right here within the learning management system. So again, I don't know how many of you will be asked to do this. When you're asked to do this, come see me, come see my team, we will help you get through it. The next biggest thing that I think students want to see when they're in their course are their grades. They're always going to want to know what their grades are. So the Grade Center allows you to do that without having to worry about, oh, I put up a spreadsheet and I forgot to anonymize it, so now everyone sees everyone's grades. Or, oh, I sent Michael's grades to so-and-so, and now so-and-so thinks they're failing when it's actually Michael who's failing. From this control panel area, if you click on any of these items, they'll expand and show a number of things. Under Grade Center, if you click and expand it, it shows a number of different things. One is needs grading. If you actually make use of the test tool and have essay questions, or the assignment tool and have students submit assignments like lab write-ups and things like that in the system, the needs grading will show you who submitted what. You can click on that just to go and grade those items that need your attention. The full Grade Center will actually take you to where I am here, and this shows you everything in the Grade Center that you have access to. By default, there's a last name, first name, username, student ID, and last access column. These basically tell you who all is in the course. You can sort by whatever value you want. The last access will tell you this is the last time this student came into the course. So what that means is if that's blank, the student never came in here. So if I come to you and I say, oh, please give me an extension, I didn't know I had to do it. Well, you never went in the course to see, and I told you to go in the course from week 1, so sorry. This also is where you can create manual columns. So if you're doing things in class, you're having them write down, you're giving a quiz, let's say. Beginning of lab, you have a quiz, 3 questions, you ask them to write down a slip of paper and turn it in. They do that, you turn it in, you collect them all, you create a manual column using this button over here called Lab Quiz 1. And then you can go through and you can assign 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 0 points to everyone in the course. And then as you populate that, the students will then see those grades within the system. Along with that, you can also provide feedback to say, hey, you got a 0, you didn't answer anything, you didn't turn this in. You got 3, that was great, you seem to know everything and be on par with what we're doing. You can also create calculated columns. So if you have a number of quizzes and you need to weight those as part of an average, you can sum everything up, times it by 10, 15, 20%, and then have that be part of a larger grade calculation. Another thing you can do is manage this. So again, the Grade Center is really powerful. You have things like color codes. So you can say, color code my grade book so that any grade I enter that's less than 70 is a red box with white text. So that way you enter all the grades and you can just scroll and visually see, okay, this column is all red. So everyone got less than a C- on this assignment or on this test. Or this row is all red. This student has done nothing or has performed so poorly across the course that they're not going to pass. And you can start to address those things without having to look at the numbers and say, was this out of 3 or 7 or 20? It's a visual indication to you that this has happened. Column organization allows you to organize the columns in the way you want, so as they get created, they'll be added to the right-hand side. But with column organization, you can take that column you just created and move it all the way to the left. Or you can hide the username and last access columns because you don't care about all of that. You also have Smart View, so you can say, I want to create a Smart View that shows me every student and it shows me all their quiz grades because I want to make sure I'm reviewing all the quiz grades. So you can do things like that. Not pictured here, you also have the ability to actually just download the gradebook. So at the very least, if you're like, Michael, this is great and all, but I'm not going to use Learn, I don't want to use Learn, you can come into the Grade Center, you can download the gradebook, have a list of all of your students in an Excel spreadsheet, ready to go. So at the very least, you can get that out of the system. Those were just, again, a couple of the things I wanted to cover, and again, if you need help, when you need help, come see me, come talk to my team. We're here to help. That's what we do. Are there any questions about any technology that you may have?
Do you have like tutorials like this posted online so if you need to refer back to something you can find?
Yeah, so directly within Learn, if you go to, there's a tech support tab that we've enhanced now. So when you log into the Learn screen, I I don't want to trust the Wi-Fi here. When you log in to Learn, as you're looking at it, over at the top it'll say Home, Courses, Community, and then it should say Tech Support. If you click on Tech Support, it's going to be a series of sub-tabs, and the first one is Learn, and then it's Learn, Collaborate, Kaltura, VoiceThread. It's kind of all the things we support. So there's where you can find sort of like quick tips and tricks on how to get started with things. They should lead you back to our website where you can find even more information, and also lead you back to our workshops page, which I didn't mention, has an archive page from there. So we try to record all of our trainings. So if you can't make it to a live one, or you're super excited, you want to go home right now and see the training, you can watch one of our previously recorded trainings and just go through that, and then again calls if you have any questions. Yes?
Is there a way to preview on user seat?
Yes, there is. So when you're actually building the course, you have what's called edit mode turned on, and that allows you to add and remove things. If you turn edit mode off, it will hide certain things, but you're still going to have elevated permissions that your students won't have. And so you'll click on a link and everything will work, and your students will click on it and it won't work, and you'll say, well, why does that work for me? If I back up here, if you click on Course Tools over here on the left, the first, I still think it's first, it's alphabetized, the first thing